Thank you so much. There we go. And now, whoop, we are at 7 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to everyone who's joining us on Zoom, everyone who's joining us on Facebook for our first official Leadership 2025 event. This is our Ask Me Anything event, and we have our two candidates for the Green Party's leadership contest, Hannah Bell and Matt MacFarlane. So glad to have them here. Thank you for everyone who's joining us live and to everyone who's going to rewatch this in their feeds for weeks to come. We're really excited for this, and the support has been incredible. The questions you folks have been great, and we are so excited to get some answers for you. Like I said, with me on screen, we have our two candidates, as well as the Green Party PEI host and Justin, who are going to be helping us with some of our technical things as we go. We acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Beginning in 1725, a series of peace and friendship treaties were signed between the British and the Mi'kmaq. The basic idea behind these treaties was that the Mi'kmaq agreed to cease hostilities towards British settlers, and the British agreed not to interfere with Mi'kmaq hunting, fishing, and harvesting. But the peace alluded to in these early treaties was short-lived as conflict between the French and the British and their indigenous allies continued. It must be remembered that while these treaties were entered into, the Mi'kmaq were never conquered and never surrendered, gave up, or ceded their land. Mi'kma'ki is still Mi'kmaq territory, and we recognize that we are all treaty people and have responsibilities to each other and to this land. We're grateful to work and engage in community work with the Mi'kmaq, and we are continually learning how we can more deeply engage and move forward the work of truth, reconciliation, and equity. That being said, we also recognize that without action, any land acknowledgement that I give you is empty. And so this is going to begin the work ahead of us. And we do have one of our first questions is going to be around reconciliation tonight. So thank you for joining us. If you are not in Prince Edward Island or if you're not in Mi'kmaq territory, we do also encourage you to spend some time getting to know the history of your own lands and spend some work figuring out what you could do to strengthen those bonds. So like I said, my name is Tate. I'm going to be your host for tonight. We have Hannah and Matt who are joining us as well. They are two candidates for the Green Party leadership contest. And here's how tonight's event is going to work. Each candidate will get the chance to answer questions that have been submitted by you, the audience. Thank you to everyone who submitted their questions in advance. That was very helpful. But for those of you who didn't get a chance or forgot that that was something you could do, you will be able to submit your questions throughout this event. You can do that using the chat. So on Zoom, if you're unfamiliar, your chat button is at the bottom of your screen in the middle. You can click on that and then you'll be able to type out your question for everyone to see. Our moderators behind the scene are going to be pulling those together, clumping them into themes as best as we can. On Facebook, you can do the same. So on your live feed for Facebook, you'll be able to submit questions. If you are watching this after the fact, obviously those questions are not going to be answered. That's just not the way that the space-time continuum works. I wish it was, but feel free to reach out to the candidates directly if you'd like answers that way. Please keep in mind that, again, we have limits because of our time, so we're not going to be able to get to every question that's asked. For that reason, we're taking note of all the questions and compiling a list that will be shared with the candidates following the event. Further, their answers are going to be timed. They are only going to have a minute or two to give you an answer to these questions. And I have practiced with my 3-year-old, having no shame in cutting them off to make sure that they do not go over that time. With that in mind, if you do not feel that they have sufficiently gotten to the heart of the issue that you were looking for, please reach out to the candidates and their specific campaign teams. Make sure that you get the answers that you need so that you can vote appropriately. I will be giving the candidates a 15-second warning when their time is almost up. And again, a reminder, this isn't a debate, and so there won't be a back and forth between Hannah and Matt. This is an opportunity for us to see where they each stand. If you're interested in a debate, we do have one coming up in Summerside, and we'll be talking more about that at the end of the night. As I said, please use the chat. You can also use your reactions if you're new to Zoom. There's a little button at the bottom that's a heart. You can click on that and it gives you some reactions as they go. If there's something you're really excited about, please let the candidates know. But we do ask that you keep yourself muted for the duration of the event. Lastly, We appreciate that some of these topics may be difficult or might be controversial. And so we do recognize that you may not land in the same places our candidates have. And that's part of what we as a Green Party stand for, is the ability to hold different views and still work together. So we do expect that everyone will remain respectful throughout this event. And if you need more conversation, again, please reach out to us directly. So, with that, I'm going to stop doing all the talking and we're going to jump right into it. So, to start off, each of the candidates, this is the one thing they've been forewarned about. I have not told them any of the other questions other than this one. But each candidate is going to have 2 minutes to tell us about their vision for the party and why they want to be the next leader. So, we're going to start based on a coin flip that we did before you all joined us. We're going to start with Matt. I'll hand it over to you and I'll start your timer now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tate, and thank you all for coming. What an amazing turnout for this event. Um, I really appreciate people taking the time. So I'm going to speak quickly because Tate's got the counter going there. Matt MacFarlane, running for leader. And just quickly, I've been with the party volunteering in different capacities for coming on 10 years now. I've served in multiple capacities with the party, from president to official agent to shadow cabinet to now currently serving as MLA for District 19 Borden Kincora, which I successfully achieved in my third election attempt in February of last year. So I'm going on 13 months now of being in the role of MLA. During that time, I've traveled across the island and have met with islanders from tip to tip and have heard so many concerns. I didn't have the intention of running for leader when I ran in the by-election, but I have come to the point that this island needs now strong leadership with this party, which is in an exceptionally strong position now to make serious gains and inroads in the political landscape of Prince Edward Island. So my vision for the party as a leader would be twofold, and I view it as two distinct significantly related aspects of being leader of the party. One is internal and one is external. So internally, my goal would be to unite the party under a strong green banner, have a big tent where everybody is welcome, because over the years, like every organization and political party, we've had members who have come, members who have gone, and members who are on the sidelines waiting for an opportunity to come back. So the first thing would be, for me as leader, would be to bring the party together internally. Externally, continue to do the good work that we've been doing, that I've been doing as an MLA for the past 13 months, to show relevance to the public and make the Green Party of Prince Edward Island their choice in the next provincial election.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Matt, I feel like you practiced that for 2 minutes because you had 1 second before my timer went off. Well done. Great debate prep. Hannah, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tate, and thanks, Matt, for going first. The luck of the coin toss. It's a real privilege to be here this evening, and it's fantastic to see so many people online and engaged with this conversation. I think I know many of the people online from my time as an elected MLA. I served for 6 years, both being elected in a by-election and then in the general election. But really, it's at this point, and thinking about leadership, I'm thinking about how challenging times are for Islanders. And we're experiencing challenges that are beyond the norms of things that we are used to experiencing in PEI. This is an area of, at a time of such great insecurity and worry and fear. But we have the opportunity in PEI to lead the way in showing that it is possible to have politics of hope. You know, the Green Party is grounded in these values that are so optimistic and positive, and it's so unusual in politics. It is, in fact, we're the only ones that do it, that have that positive, optimistic outlook. And so I think that we have the opportunity here to lead the way in showing that politics can be a beacon of hope, that we can build PEI through the Green Party into being the place that people look to on how things could be done differently, and actually show it through our politics and our action. Islanders are looking for leadership that can face those challenges head on with bold solutions. And I deeply believe that leaders should serve from a place of experience, from responsibility, and be comfortable doing the hard work that it takes to lead. I have a proven track record as a community advocate, as a leader, as a mentor, as an elected legislator. but more so in building community movement and working in my community for change. Those bold and creative positions come back to that vision of hope and why I'm running. I want to be able to tell my daughter that we're working to make a change and make a difference. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate it. Clearly, they both went through and timed those answers because they were like to the nose. You could almost hear my buzzer going off in the background. Thank you so much, folks. And like I said, thank you to everyone who submitted a question for Hannah and for Matt tonight. We're so excited for this Ask Me Anything to be our first kickoff event. We've got a ton of questions coming, and our moderators are going through to pull them together. As I mentioned, we did have a lot that clumped around certain ideas. And so if you didn't hear the exact verbiage that you submitted, I promise it's not because of grammar or anything like that. It's just because we want to make sure we cover as many ideas as possible. With that, I'm going to hand it over. You will have 2 minutes to answer this question.
Mhm.
And like I said, we're going to go back and forth. So that means Hannah, you get to go first for this one. And the question for you is, as we discussed in our land acknowledgement, how would you ensure that reconciliation isn't simply performative or virtue signaling, but
Mm.
actually advances meaningful change and restoration?
Oh, critically important question. I think the core of this is what we often talk about when we talk about things in the social justice space, nothing for us without us. So often, some of the actions that are taken around reconciliation are performative. They're not even done in consultation with the peoples for whom they represent. And the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations are actually really clear. They are numbered. They set out specific things that need to happen, but those things also can't be done to people. They have to be done with. So a key piece around ensuring that reconciliation action is actually appropriate is that it has to start with those conversations at the table with the appropriate representatives. And that includes the peoples who live off reserve, as well as those who live on reserve. And they are the people that should be directing the priorities and how that action is then taken. The government is the agent of change in that case, not the driver. That's
Awesome.
1 minute and a bit.
Yeah, no, you did great. Thank you so much for that, Hannah. I appreciate it. And thank you for
Sure.
that answer. Matt, with that, I'm going to reset my timer and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tate, and thanks to the participant for the question.
Mhm.
And I appreciated, Tate, in your land acknowledgement that you ended it by saying that action is necessary. I made note of that because so often, if we simply leave the discussion at the land acknowledgement, it becomes it almost becomes empty words without going the next step further and saying, you know, and we need to action the issue further because I've talked to members of the indigenous community who say, yes, the land acknowledgement is one thing, but we need more. And as Hannah says, we need to engage at the table, all of the stakeholders, all of the First Nations community on reserve, off reserve, and it's unfortunately at the federal level too. We don't see the action necessary in the remote communities. It's an afterthought. It's an issue that comes up at election time to try and address, for example, water issues. Those issues need to be addressed 12 months of the year, every year, not just when it's election time as lip service to the communities that are in need of that. So, working with the Truth and Reconciliation recommendations, it starts with government, as Hannah says, and then multiple levels of government need to be involved. But it also has to start with the First Nations communities as to the path that's necessary to be taken.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. No, I appreciate those thoughtful answers. I'm going to, for folks who are just joining us, we're in the middle of our Ask Me Anything. You're not going to be hearing much from me. And again, this isn't a debate back and forth. We're really just like spit firing questions to our candidates. So thank you, Hannah and Matt, for keeping your answers so succinct. The next one is one we have combined. So Nancy and David asked, and Matt, this one will go to you first. You'll have 2 minutes. Why do you think you would make a great leader? And what in your mind distinguishes you from the other candidate? And I'll start the timer now.
Okay. Um, I've always taken leadership roles in what I set out to do. If I get onto a committee or a board of directors, it does seem ultimately where I end up is in the chair position, working with the group and offering guidance from the front and leading from the front. So although I said I didn't intend to be leader of the party or seek the leadership when I ran in the by-election, um, it almost seems to be organic that's where I naturally will gravitate to. I think leadership requires multiple skills. I bring the skill of listening, hearing everyone around the table, and being conciliatory, all inclusive in my approach to whether it's committee, board work, whatever. And that's why I made a point in my opening remarks of saying, let's build the big tent, let's have everybody together, and let's hear why people may have left the party over the years, why people and why people need to come back into the party again. I think the second part of that question was what distinguishes me from Hannah, the other candidate. Well, I mean, Hannah has been in the role of MLA as well, so she knows what that works and what that work is like. I'm not afraid of doing the hard work either. I'm constantly out and about, meeting with Islanders, trying to gather up the concerns. And I think that's what you need in this job as leader is someone who's doing the hard work, someone who's prepared to get the hands dirty and meet with people, be inclusive, talk to people who don't always share the same views that you might have, and make sure that you find a place within the party, find the common ground necessary, and that's what I would do as leader of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Hannah, I'll hand it over to you.
That was to prevent the dogs barking, and I forgot I was still on mute. Thanks, Kate.
All good.
Yeah, no, thanks. This is a great set of questions as well, and it's obviously really important that we're able to come to the root of when we're in a contested nomination like this, is that, different candidates bring different experiences, and so which of those kind of resonate, and what do you see that works for you and your idea of what you want to see in a leader? A lot like Matt. I mean, this is where we end up with sort of people like us in the Green Party, because people who naturally take on leadership positions continue to be leaders in their community. So whether it's from being an executive director of a nonprofit organization, or chair of the board of a nonprofit, or two or three, or I think six was the most at one time, but or whether it's having stepped up previously to be an elected representative and then doing it again, the leadership asks a lot of you, and there are certain characteristics that come to that, and a lot of that is that you lead because you want to help people get to the solutions that they want to see happen, to see that change happen. And often we talk about this a lot in nonprofit spaces, is you look around the room thinking somebody should do something, and eventually you realize that that person is you. And that's where sometimes leaders come from, is they weren't looking to step up in front, but they end up there because they've got the passion and the energy and the commitment to follow it through. And that's one of the things that I'm known for in the community, is being someone you go to when you want to get something done, whether it's organizing a warming shelter, or whether it's stepping up to be on a board, or it's, getting food hampers, whatever that may look like. What distinguishes us as the two candidates is different life experience, different history, and that experience is hugely valuable. That's what makes us unique. And my life experience is one of advocacy, action, and social justice.
Thank you for that, Hannah.
Thank you, Tate.
Appreciate it. So your next question, you're going to have, oh, I should lower my hand. The next question, you're only going to have 1 minute to respond to,
Oh,
which naturally means I'm going to throw you into the state of current events in the world. 1 minute. We're taking this as if it's Twitter or TikTok.
sure.
Lindsay asks, and Hannah, you'll go first.
Yep.
Lindsay asks, what do you feel the PEI government should be doing in the face of the tariffs from Donald Trump? And how would you support island business during these uncertain times?
The number one thing that we can do is bring down those interprovincial barriers. We've heard recently talking a lot about alcohol, but there are lots of other ones out there which are just as impactful, and would make a huge difference in us being able to enable trade interprovincially. There are more interprovincial barriers than there are barriers to export out of the country right now. I am more cautious about the bridge toll just because I know how complicated that is going to be and how much it's going to cost. So that would be doable if the federal government is going to assist with the cost involved. But those interprovincial trade barriers, the other thing I think we have to see is small business supports, and that means money in people's pockets as in terms of grants and forgivable loans, not tax rebates. And that's small business, not big business. The big business is going to be able to weather this, but our small businesses are going to really be challenged, and we have to be there for them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, a minute is not a lot of time.
Not
So
a
thank
lot.
you
That's
folks
where
for
I talk faster, Tate.
I appreciate you folks being able to cram it all in there. Matt, I will hand it over to you.
Right. So thanks, Tate. So when it comes to what the president of the states is doing, our response as a province needs to be twofold. On the one side, we need to do our part in with respect to retaliatory measures. So we need to be part of Strong Team Canada
Mm.
as one of 10 provinces to show unity, strength and resilience in pushing back against this, and that includes the necessary advocacy necessary. And we need to deal with things like the NHL contract, for example, that needs to be
Mhm.
ripped up and thrown in the garbage. It shouldn't have been signed in the first place. But anyway, here we are. We need to sever those particular ties and contracts and things like the liquor in the stores from the United States. The second piece of the puzzle, as Hannah answered, was the compensation piece. We need to show
Mm.
support for our resource industries, obviously small business, but especially the workers that we see who are in our resource industries who are definitely going to be hit by this and are going to need to have compensation to be made whole when we
Thank
figure
you.
out the full extent of what these tariffs are going to do for islanders.
Appreciate that, Matt. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is a tough answer to push it all in there. And folks, like we said at the beginning, we are asking questions that we have received in advance, but we are also asking questions that you're submitting live through this event. So if you would like to submit anything to our candidates, you can do that in the chat on Facebook or the chat here on Zoom. We would love to hear from you. And again, candidates will be provided with a complete list, and you're more than welcome to reach out to them directly as well to get your questions answered. Your next one, Matt, this will go to you first, and you are going to have 1 minute to answer this question. I'm restarting it because I had 1 second on the clock, and that was not going to work. Rosemary asks, what have you done to support the Green Party over the past few years in achieving its mission and its objectives?
Hmm. So, as I alluded in my introduction, I've served in multiple capacities with the party, from everything from most recently as president, official agent, shadow cabinet, member at large, and elected representative. I've, in all aspects of my work with the party, I've been inclusive of all members, and I've grown the membership as well through, I believe, through my efforts as MLA. And people respect the work that the party is doing presently, and they want to be part of the party that is doing well and touching on the issues that islanders want to be touched on. Uh, I believe in the party. I've never backed down from supporting the party. Never spoken out against the party. I will constantly be working after hours, whether as an MLA during the day, and volunteer with the party in the evening.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. All right, Hannah, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tate. So I've been an active member of the party for 10 years, starting with providing input on the platform in the 2015 election, shadow cabinet and platform development for the 2019 election, obviously elected in 2017 in the by-election and then again in 2019. Also did candidate search and recruitment for the 2019 election. I've also been a member of supporting Green Party off province as well, which is something that's been a really, great opportunity. But as an elected official, I passed more legislation than any other official or any other opposition member in PEI history, six pieces of legislation, and sponsored or co-sponsored over 30 motions, which spoke to, topics that were really specific to islanders that really mattered, including the Rent Eviction Moratorium and the Poverty Elimination Strategy Act. Have served in a number of different roles, critic roles, but as a party member, the primary piece has been in not just being a donor and a volunteer
Thank
and
you
a
so much,
member.
Hannah.
Okay.
Sorry, I know it's
I just saw
hard,
somebody's
isn't it?
name pop up.
That's No, thank you so much, folks.
No
And
problem.
on behalf of everyone who's a part of this call, I do want to say, Matt and Hannah, thank you for the work that you've done for the party over the past number of years. I know I wouldn't have joined if it hadn't been the work for the work of both of you. So thank you for everything that you've contributed to where we are today. And with that, I'm going to move us into another nice, easy topic. We're going to talk about healthcare. You will have 2 minutes to answer this question. And Hannah, it will be coming to you first.
Okay.
This one is one that we have combined from a few different questions. So members are asking what you think the main problems facing healthcare are right now and what you believe the most important solutions should be. Connected to
So
that,
just an easy softball
just super
question. Yeah.
easy, right? And then the next connected to that. So, what do you think the main problems are? What are the most
Okay.
important solutions? And then, would you remain committed to the idea of patient medical homes in primary care that the Green Party first promoted and was then picked up by the government?
Yeah.
So, just a nice, easy, not
Yeah.
complicated at all question. You'll have 2 minutes to answer that. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Those are such great questions. I'm actually, just to throw a wrench in, I'm actually going to answer the last part first about medical homes because it's a really easy answer, and the answer is yes. I think it's really important that we do recognize it was a Green Party proposition initially. I am actually able to go to a medical home. It's where I get my medical care. I am so lucky and so grateful, and it is phenomenal. I think the key there is that they need to be at the same level and the same quality in every community. We don't want to see disparity in the quality and delivery. So that's my caveat to that one, but it's a big yes for me on those. Um, the more thorny question, problems and solutions, there's not just one problem, there's not just one solution. So we have a problem that we don't pay people enough, that we can't retain the people that we have, and then the people we have are working in situations that they're understaffed, they're overworked, they're burned out, and the system itself doesn't function properly. And part of that is a process problem. It's, beds are tied up, so people can't get into long-term care, and so they're tied up in the hospital, which means they back up into the ER, which means you can't get through the ER. But they're also like really fundamental around staffing and how we treat and respect our healthcare workers. Healthcare has to be a priority because we are not going to see a decrease in the need for healthcare. So this is about making this a priority investment. We have to be spending money on healthcare and not on roads as a first priority or hockey contracts. And it is then about creating a respectful workspace so that people recognize that those roles are critical to the health of our overall community. And that, the medical school isn't necessarily going to be, a silver bullet. So we need to also be more creative about how we address those challenges to find more creative solutions. I'm not a healthcare expert, so that's where I go to the healthcare community and ask them to tell us what it is that they need. It's always about, again, nothing for us without us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Hannah. Matt, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tate. So as the current health critic for the party, I've made the health care file a priority in my year of being in the MLA position. And I've talked to dozens of frontline healthcare workers across the board, from homes, like long-term care homes, to hospital, different wards, to island EMS. The consistent piece across the board with respect to what I'm hearing is that we are not listening. Government is not listening to their concerns. Their voices aren't being heard. Government is scrambling to throw band-aids over these open wounds in our healthcare system. With our healthcare system, our workers, they have solutions, but they're not being listened to. So that to me, the main problem is we need to listen to our frontline healthcare workers across the board and hear the solutions they have, because I have, and they're very creative and they're very confident in what they need to make their lives better, and to ensure retention, is foremost in recruitment. The second question with respect to patient medical homes, yes, it was a Green Party idea, and it needs to be, that flag needs to be waved a little more, because patient medical homes are the answer to giving access to the approximately 25% of islanders that don't have access to primary care. The flagship patient medical home right now in Prince Edward Island is in Krakow, and I am very proud to say that I had a part to play in that with the board of directors of South Shore Health and Wellness, from 2018 up to present, and I resigned my position a couple of years ago on that when my term expired. That is a model for healthcare delivery at the primary care level. in Prince Edward Island, and it will take 5,000 people off the registry by next year when we get our next nurse practitioner hired on. And again, as the Green Party, we should be proud of that, and I'm proud of my contributions to that particular initiative in Krakow.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that answer. And with this question, I should say, I often joke if anyone can tell you they have one thing that'll fix all of our healthcare solution, they probably work for TELUS and are trying to sell you something. And so I appreciate the thoroughness and thoughtfulness of those answers, folks. My next question, Matt, you'll get to go first, and you'll have 1 minute for this answer, is coming from Sally. Sally asks, even if you do not become leader of the Green Party, what actions do you recommend to improve membership engagement and retention to rebuild our grassroots foundation, both in the short term and in the long term?
That's a great question. There is work to be done in that area, as I've alluded this evening already. One of the regrets I have, I suppose I would say, about winning the by-election last year was that I was only a few months into my term as president of the party, and that was a big goal of mine as president, was to grow the membership and engage with the membership. During that time, I did do some things. We had the Ombudsperson's report from Elizabeth Scholes that pointed out a number of areas for improvement for the party. We were working on a strategic plan to implement those. I had opened up the council meetings to observers without limitation, and we communicated more broadly and extensively with the membership of the party. We were working on also getting a newsletter done. I think a newsletter to keep the party members informed and engaged would be an important initiative to do as well, but there's lots more, Tate, that we could be doing on that front as a party.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, Hannah, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, I've got a lot of experience in membership building, and we are really dropping the ball on this. And so the only place we can do is go up, which is great, right? Because as a party that was in official position for 4 years and has this really strong recognition in the political space in PEI and huge value, the membership doesn't reflect that. And that means that we're not able to sort of leverage what membership can do for the party, which is be advocates and champions for green values. We need to recognize that membership is not about building revenue, though we do ask members for donations, but that membership is about a group of people who are inside your tent that you can speak to. So there are some barriers that we need to think about why people aren't members. And some of them are financial. Some of them are, we're just not talking to people where they are. And if we can begin to think about how and why we are not reaching people that we should be to become members, we're more likely to be able to build that membership into what it should be, more representative of the island itself.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I appreciate that. And with that, I will take this opportunity to plug that if you intend to vote in the upcoming leadership contest, you do need to be a member before May 8th. You can go to our website, and our two moderators are going to throw the link into the chat, both on Facebook and Zoom. So you can follow that link, and it will walk you through how to become a member of the Green Party. Again, you need to do that before May 8th if you would like to vote for one of these wonderful people who are on the screen with me today. All right, I'm going to throw you another nice, easy question. All of these have been, I was really hoping we were going to get more about, like, how do you take your coffee? Nope, these are all hard hitting. I appreciate the depth that folks are really digging into here. Hannah, again, you're going to have 1 minute to answer this question. And it is, the King government has been notorious in lacking transparency in almost everything that it has done on almost every topic. This has created suspicion and distrust. What do you plan on doing to ensure that this ends under your leadership? And how exactly will you hold their feet to the fire?
Okay. Lance government now, but he's may as well be the King government because he's doing the same things. The lack of transparency is how government can do things and not tell us what's happening. And a lot of this is accountability that says when you say you're going to actually release information, you have to release it. We have never seen that from a government. And so the Green government has the opportunity to be the ones that actually do open those doors, because they understand that the political risk is worth it for the commitment of following through on publishing the reports and showing the numbers. One of the worst offenders of this is the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission. Those reports that have been done and held, paid for by taxpayers, should be out in the public, because the public then is going to be able to make their own decisions based on the information available. In the short term, it's using every tool available in government, including things like standing committees and, if necessary, subpoenas, to compel government to do the right thing and share the information that people deserve to
Thank
see.
you so much. Appreciate it. That is a hard one to squeeze into a minute. Thank you for that, Hannah. I appreciate it. Matt, I will hand it over to you.
The lack of transparency is in my mind, the biggest concern that I'm seeing from this government and many previous governments before it. It's for that reason that I brought a bill forward calling for, as Hannah alluded, opening up some transparency with Iraq. Unfortunately, the bill was voted down unanimously after about 10 minutes of debate, because that's how the conservative government operates. If it's not an idea from them, they particularly don't appreciate it and don't think it's a good one. But that's the issue, is there's too much reliance on FOIP for information that should be disclosed to the public without even having to ask for it. FOIP documents are coming back redacted. I brought a motion calling for a special committee on Iraq to review its efficacy, see whether it was actually doing what it's supposed to be doing. There's lots of tools. It's the number one issue that I have, and I will continue to hammer away at that in my role as MLA, whether I'm leader or not.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. With that, folks, I am actually going to send us into the few questions that we received that were directed to individual candidates. So these ones, as you hear the questions, you'll understand, but they're not going to go to both candidates. But I am going to start with the question for Matt. And Matt, you will have 2 minutes to answer this question. Um, Matt, someone has asked, you were only elected a year ago. Why do you feel that you have enough political experience to now run for leadership and to take the reins of our party?
Well, I appreciate the question. I don't, there's no degree to take to become a politician. There's no course to take to become a leader. As Hannah has already alluded, I think leadership traits are innate. And if you're going to be a leader in life in different roles and aspects, you're going to work on leadership your whole life. You're just going to develop those skills and continue to lead and to show leadership, or you're not. I've learned in my life that I will gravitate towards leading from the front. I've served now as MLA for 13 months, which is 13 months longer in an elected position than our current Prime Minister of Canada, I might add. So there's not always going to be someone with 10, 20 years experience as an elected official who comes forward to be a leader. And I don't think that's necessary. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing or a requirement or a positive either. Leadership takes all kinds of traits. I know from my experience in getting work done that I have the skills and traits necessary to be a leader, and that's why my leadership campaign slogan is "Leadership that Works." I'm not afraid to do the hard work, and I've earned that reputation for getting the hard work done over the last number of months, a year and a bit in my role as MLA. So I guess the short answer to the question, and I appreciate the question being asked, is that political experience is not necessary to create a good leader.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hannah, I'm going to hand it over to you. We have
Mhm.
two questions that are specific for you,
Mhm.
and I'll ask them one. I'll give you time to respond in between each, and you will have 2 minutes for the first question. Folks have said one of the main reasons that you gave for stepping down in 2023 was the high expectations that were placed on elected members in PEI. Considering the political climate may be more challenging nowadays, what has changed in your life that has made you leadership material? How can Islanders trust you not to step down when the going gets tough?
Thank you. A couple of things I'd like to point out, that I didn't step down. I just didn't reoffer, unlike Natalie or Dennis, who quit their jobs in the middle of a period where they'd committed to work to run, I finished the term and then chose not to reoffer. But I absolutely think it's a really valid question because at the time I was tired. And I was tired from not the work, but from the pressures of coming out of COVID and a lot of caregiving duties. We had a lot of illness in my family. And without going into the details, as the primary caregiver, I was really tired and didn't feel that I would be able to run again and be sure that I could commit to giving 100% for the full 4 years. And so I felt it was more honest to choose not to run again than to run and then do like Natalie and Dennis have done and leave be up before my time was up. What has changed is that my caregiving duties have balanced out and my own care for myself has also balanced out, which is I think something that we can recognize that you can grow and heal and be better. And so not only am I feeling much more confident in my family's ability to be able to sort of be balanced, but also that means that I can be comfortable in making that commitment of being able to give my 110%. That is the minimum that I want to see doing that I do when I'm in a leadership role.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
The next question is also from same time period,
Yep.
and it comes from a few different folks.
Yep.
Can you explain the reasons you conducted? Sorry, I should tell you, you're going to have 2 minutes to answer this question. Can you
Okay.
explain the reasons you conducted an interview with Teresa Wright in the middle of the last election campaign? It
Hmm.
appeared to publicly undermine the party and the leadership team. Oh, sorry, I forgot to hit stop on my timer.
That's okay.
It appeared to publicly undermine the party and the leadership team when you were still a senior member of the campaign leadership team. Some members considered this a betrayal that directly impacted the outcome of the election and could have caused ongoing divisions within the party. How do you intend to rebuild trust and to reunite the party?
No, it's a really good question, and it's obviously something that needs to be addressed. So I appreciate the question being asked, and I appreciate the opportunity to answer it. And as of at the time, I had finished my work as an MLA and was doing some volunteer work with the campaign. I'd actually had an interview with Teresa prior to finishing my role as an MLA, and then had some follow-up conversation with her afterwards. And as I had discussed previously when I spoke to the leadership committee. I think there is a great deal for me, a reminder of sometimes my own naivete in thinking that my intentions of sharing information, because I want to be honest, and I believe very strongly in honesty, and not being thinking through properly how this could be perceived, because the conversations that had happened both behind the scenes and in the party at the time were not being reflected in what was happening in public. We were polling really, really low, and there was a lot of worry about protecting seats for those who were elected. And those who were politically in the know, as they were people who live inside that political bubble, knew that the campaign was going to be really hard and that the party wasn't as ready as it could have been. And unfortunately, this was confirmed with our ombuds report. But that doesn't change how it makes people feel. And so honesty is not always the best policy in politics. Even though we've just talked previously about the importance of transparency, it's really difficult to maintain that level of transparency and honesty in a space like that's as closely knit as something like the Green Party. And so I guess my final thing on that is I would love to see it have a different outcome. And I really do feel that um, the election campaign followed through with the polling and the numbers that were expected. I wish my friends hadn't lost their seats. But I think the
Thank you.
opportunity is there for us to rebuild, and I'm really hoping to be a part of that.
Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you,
And
Tate.
I appreciate those questions, folks. Again, please keep them
Yeah.
coming. We are getting private chats from folks, so please keep sending them in. This next one comes from some of the younger folks on our party. And so we're so grateful to see one of the things I love about the Green Party is how diverse the membership is and all the different walks of life that have come in to our party. And so this one is going to, because we've been going back and forth, Hannah, I'll let you answer this one first, and then we'll go to Matt. And this one one you're only going to have a minute for, so good luck, is how do you plan on working alongside the youth of PEI, specifically the Francophone and Acadian youth, but again,
Mm.
generally all youth here in Prince Edward Island?
I think that it's really interesting because we accept members in the party from 14 years and up, and almost nobody I ever talk to knows that. And then one of the barriers we have with this is how do you tell 14-year-olds and up that they're even welcome in the party? So one of the main things we need to have is there should be a youth member on council. There should be a youth action committee, which actually is the driving force in how you engage and connect with youth members, because I don't know. I can go ask my teenage daughter, but it'd be way better if it was actually driven and coming from the youth who know what they need to say and who needs to be there and what action that we should be taking. In terms of the Francophone community, that's another whole piece that we're just missing from our story right now. So it comes down to getting people, it's a bit of a chicken egg, getting people here who can connect with the community and then building that engagement with those people, those young representatives at the forefront of that engagement. That's the way to do it.
Excellent. Thank you so
Southern.
much.
Thank you.
That's great. Matt, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Tate. Yes, we really do need to make efforts to develop the youth component of our party. I think I don't know exactly why we haven't. We just need to, and whether we do that through a position on council or a committee, the other parties have done a better job at that with respect to, for example, the Young Liberals. There's no reason in the whole wide world why we can't have a young green contingent of our party. It's so important. The youth, it's trite to say it, but the youth are the future of the party, and we need to do a better job as a party in engaging that community and speaking to that community. And I think that our party, as opposed to the others, is in the best position to do that. I mean, the number one concern in the world, environmental and climate change, that's what the youth are interested in hearing from. And we as a party need to do a better job of speaking the language of what the youth are expecting us to speak.
Thank you so much, Matt. I appreciate that. And you've actually created a wonderful segue into our next question. It only happens once in a blue moon. So thanks for making that happen. This one you will have you're going to have 2 minutes to answer this one. I'll be more generous on this front. So you're going to have 2 minutes. Matt, you're going to get to go first for this one. And the question is, with so much political noise around tariffs and geopolitical perils and these unprecedented times that we live in, it feels like climate change is no longer a priority for many governments. PEI, thanks to two pieces of Green Caucus legislation, has the most ambitious climate goals of any province. In the prevailing political environment, how would you ensure that our province, as a vulnerable small island state, remains a leader in fighting the climate emergency?
Yeah, it's huge. And I guess the first thing I'd say is just to acknowledge the fact that we do have the gift of jurisdiction here, so we can chart our own path. We don't have to be dissuaded from continuing to focus on the importance of climate change adaptation and mitigation strategies. So just because other provinces are perhaps backsliding a little bit, we hate to see discussions in Nova Scotia about fracking and going back down that way. And unfortunately, there's people who will use these economic challenges as justification to reopen old discussions like pipelines and whatnot. From what we can do as a province, Canada, the smallest province, with our jurisdiction, we need to hold firm. We need to hold resolute to our ideals. I think it's safe to say that the Green Party would be the only party of the political parties in the landscape right now that would actually say that and would be honest and doing it and fulfilling the fact that we're not going to backslide. And that doesn't mean we're not going to keep up with the economic challenges. In fact, quite the contrary. There's economic opportunities that can continue to be made that have not even been fully explored. if we look at examples of a Green New Deal, which has been floated around in different jurisdictions. So there is opportunity. We need to continue to look at all of our developments through an environmental lens. Again, not to be anti-development, but just to make sure that when we move forward with addressing the challenges from these uncertain times, that we do it always with our environmental mindset lens applied to the development.
Thank you so much for that. Hannah, I'll hand it over to you for the same question.
Thanks. Well, you heard me mention earlier talking to my daughter and about how does her generation have hope. I mean, this is for them the pressing issue. That we are leaving. To them, we are leading them into a space where there is no future, and we have to be able to. And it connects to us engaging with the youth in our community. They have to be at the table. Um, and this is the most important thing that will bring them there, or one of the most important things that will bring them there. But in terms of the action that PEI takes, this is the piece where again we get to be that beacon of hope. We've already sort of demonstrated it with legislation, but most people don't know that, and they may not care. What they need to see is what is the tangible action that demonstrates that we are actually doing things about this that matters the most to us. And so, yes, that means being at the table and having that kind of team green approach across the board. But locally, does that mean that, we're retrofitting buildings? We're, making a concerted shift to renewables. We're not buying new diesel generators for the Maritime Electric Plant. We're looking at actual active engagement to I'm sorry, I just saw Sarah's comment. You are not middle-aged, Sarah, stop it. Active engagement that and action that shows that we're putting our money where our mouth is. We have other aspects like the clean tech trade and so on, but there's some incredible initiatives. I heard a news article just recently about the BC Youth Climate Corps, which actually takes youth and trains them into work that is around climate mitigation, climate adaptation. So it's not just giving them a trade, but it's actually directly engaging them with action that allows them to see that they can do something that makes a difference. There are these really tangible things we can do that address these multiple challenges and allow PEI to be a leader in so many ways in a space and make that difference that
Thank you so
matters.
much. Thank you for that. And thank you for those answers. There's so much opportunity here, folks, and I'm
Yeah.
so encouraged that we have such wonderful candidates who want to step up and help bring our party through to that. And so thank you, Hannah and Matt, for putting your names forward for this. I really am grateful for you for doing that. The next question comes to us from a kind of a combination of folks. The Green Party has always prided itself on promoting and accepting a wide range of different viewpoints within its memberships. What characteristics do you have that would make you a successful leader to hold those folks together and maintain unity within such a diverse community? So, Hannah, you're going to have 1 minute to answer this question.
1 minute.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is one of the pieces about being a leader with experience is that very rarely do I walk into a boardroom or a space in uh, some kind of action or advocacy where everybody's on the same page. And that may be that it's about understanding how to facilitate conversation or help people get through to some kind of mediated consensus, but it's also about being able to be really clear about the boundaries of what is and is not up for discussion. Sometimes the things that people get bogged down on are disagreements on details when the big picture are actually all on the same page. And the values of the party are part of what help us really find where we align. And that's something that I found to be consistent is if you can align on values, just about everything else, you can talk your way through it and find a place of agreement and consensus because the values are what drive us to want to do the right thing.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. And Matt, I'll hand it over to you. 1 minute.
Um, yeah, it really comes down to listening and being prepared to hear all viewpoints and perspectives, and that's something that's been lacking in politics across the board, not perhaps just within internal political structures, but provincially, federally. It's just an inability to accept that other people might have a perspective that's a little different. That doesn't mean that that person doesn't get to come into the tent and be part of the group that you're with. In fact, quite the contrary. That group is made much stronger by having disparate and alternative voices within the organization. That makes for a stronger group, stronger organization. So the skill that I would bring as leader is to be prepared to listen and accept and to be tolerant of viewpoints that all align, I'm sure, as Hannah had said, with our green core values.
Thank you. Our next question, again, you're going to have 1 minute to answer this one. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are loving these 1 minute questions. And Matt, you're going to get to answer this one first. So the question is, what steps would you take in the short term to get the party ready to win the next election?
Um, Candidates, and that's something that I've been working on already in my MLA role, is going across the island to get good candidates, because that's what people are telling me they want. People are telling me that they really want to support the Green Party in the next election, whenever that might be, whether it's this fall, next spring, a year from then, we don't know. But what we do know is that we have to get candidates on the ground that are going to be appreciated by the voters as some place they can cast their vote. Now, in addition to that, there's so many other things that we can't possibly address in a minute, but we need to have our political machinery in good working order. We need all hands on deck. We need everybody on this call this evening in this meeting to be prepared and to come and help the party. We need our strong membership to come out and help get ready for the next election to support good candidates from tip to tip.
Thank you so much. Hannah, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, Tate. I think I would add to sort of what Matt said, that we also need to be mindful, a bit more to the further question about enlarging the tent. We need to make sure that when we're looking for candidates, that those candidates represent the diversity of PEI. We do have a tendency to go with candidates that make us feel comfortable in our comfort zone, and we need to see that diversity. So that we can't represent Islanders if we're not having a genuine broad tent in terms of the candidates that we put forward into the space. And that means that those candidates need to be supported. Candidate school. We can run candidate schools to actually teach people, how to campaign, how to be a candidate, what's expected of them, and how to work on an election campaign. So a campaign school, candidate candidate vetting, and I think probably that training in sort of politics 101 would really help everybody involved in having a more successful campaign based on what we already have of just a great deal of enthusiasm.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right, this next question is, oh, these are hard. These are hard because I could give you 20 minutes to talk about each of these. This is going to be another 1 minute answer one, folks. And Hannah, it's going to come to you first. So the question is,
Just leave my mute off. That would be
that's
easy.
yeah,
Okay.
you're all good.
Okay.
If we hear dogs in the background, it's fine. You'll hear babies stomping around in mine. So the question is, where do you stand on the centralization of services for vulnerable populations at the Park Street site in Charlottetown, including the emergency shelter and the outreach center? And further, do you or have you ever supported the establishment of an overdose prevention site at this same location?
Okay, I do not agree with centralization of services. I think we have to have services centrally located because that's where people are. But by the way that they have been centralized and the way that that site has been built and is maintained, it looks like a concentration camp. And it's awful. Now that the people are getting services there, and I appreciate that, but it is not a dignified space, and it is not good for the residents of the area and the businesses in the area. So it's a really it's another reason why this is not an easy solution. And I do think there would still be a place for services in that area, whether that's like a drop-in or an outreach or whatever that may be. But also, we've already outgrown that space. There are more people in need than can be served by that space, which is part of the reason it's a problem. So I'd like to see it decentralized and recognize the fact that this is across our community. I do support an overdose prevention site. It has to be located again in Charlottetown. We probably need more than one. I have myself done 3
Thank
naloxone
you so
this,
much.
this month, or this, sorry, in the last 3 months. So yeah, it's a need. Sorry,
Thank
has to finish the thought there.
Finish the thought. Otherwise, we'd all be wondering what you'd done 3 of. That's
Yeah.
thank you so much for that.
Naloxone administrations for the reversal of an overdose.
Thank you for sharing that. Matt, I'll hand it over to you again. 1 minute for that one.
Yeah, there's such a need for the services that we're talking about in the community right now, and the way they're being delivered as an afterthought, as some
Mm.
place to be, to put it to try and make it work someplace as a centralized delivery service. It's not working. I don't think many people, especially in the area, would say it's not working. But the fact of the matter is that not everybody needs all of the services that are being offered in the outreach center, for example. So there's people there who are perhaps better off and would be better off treated and receiving treatment from another provider, another service, as opposed to through what Hannah referred to as as a not very flattering facility. To finish up my thought on the overdose prevention site, the state supervised consumption site, I, as a lawyer for 20 years, believe in evidence. Evidence-based research shows that supervised consumption
Thank you.
sites save lives. So yes, as part of a further bigger wraparound service to provide addiction treatment
Thank you
services,
so
yes,
much, Matt.
we need that. We do need it.
So sorry to be cutting you both off. Like I said, I
Okay.
hope you'll continue these conversations. Folks who are watching with us now or who are joining us later on, if you want to connect with these two candidates, you can do so. They have websites and various social media pages. I'm sure there are ways for you to call, email, text, all those good things. And we will be sharing those in the chats here as well. So feel free, if you would like to connect with these candidates to find out more, to get more information from them, please do so. They would love to hear from you, and we want to make sure that you are getting all the information that you need in order to have the most informed vote that you possibly can. I am going to ask you, um, this is going to be a 2 minute question. If you're ready for it, it's our first one in a while, but that's because
Mhm.
it's a doozy. It's a great question, and then we had a number of these come together.
Okay.
We had, and Matt, you'll be getting this one first, 2 minutes. We had a number of questions that cross-cut different levels of government responsibility. Things like gun ownership, municipal government, the Confederation Bridge, the ferries, all of the tolls, everything that we do as it relates to the federal, provincial, and municipal jurisdictions. So the first part of this question is, how would you advocate for islanders when issues arise that are outside of your provincial jurisdiction? And the second part of that is recognizing that the resources are limited. How would you prioritize asks for collaboration and funding with the federal government? So, again, those are two questions. How would you advocate for issues that arise outside of your provincial jurisdiction? And how would you prioritize the asks for collaboration and funding with the provincial government? And you'll have 2 minutes, Matt. I'll start you
Mm.
off.
Yeah, it's a fascinating question. I've received, almost pretty well weekly, if not more often than that, I receive questions from constituents and islanders that are not part of the provincial jurisdiction. So you handle those, you respond to those, you assist the people. Practically speaking, you engage the support of the appropriate jurisdiction. Usually, it's the member of parliament for the person's area. So what you don't do is say, not my jurisdiction,
Yeah.
not my problem. You offer help, and you take the person who's inquiring to the resources that are available, to answer the question that they're asking. So there's always ways to advocate for that. I mean, you mentioned the Confederation Bridge. There's arrangements with the federal government that can be made to alleviate tolls for the bridge and for the ferry. Just because it doesn't fit within the provincial jurisdiction right now, doesn't mean there's not a solution available that can't come from collaboration with Strait Crossing Inc. and with the federal government. There's lots of examples of multi-jurisdictional, tri-party agreements, for example. I'm trying to get to the second part of that question about how you prioritize. Well, ultimately, if it was me at the negotiation table, you prioritize based on the biggest need. Right now, the biggest need in Prince Edward Island revolves around social programs and their social network. On my drive home today, I heard from a senior who was struggling to maintain her own home because of cost of living. So there's cost of living advocacy that needs to be done to get more money in from the federal government, because that's where 40% of our money comes from in the first place. And it has to be directed to the most pressing need, which right now is cost of living for islanders.
Thank you so much. All right, Hannah, I will hand it over to you. Again, 2 minutes for those two lofty questions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the good thing with having had the experience of being, in elected space for 6 years, is sorry, I just got a note that my internet is unstable. Is that okay?
Yep, you're still
Yeah,
good.
okay, great, good. Sorry, is the experience that Matt ex described, which is that you get calls on everything from my black bin didn't get picked up to, my EI claims been denied to everything in between. And so building up those networks of knowing sort of what fits where. But also, it's not the constituents' fault that they don't know that, right? Because it's really difficult to navigate some of these systems and programs. So having that attitude of we will help you regardless of whether it technically belongs to me or not is critical to basically deliver the service that the public expect and deserve from their elected officials. It's not my job doesn't work in this space. In terms of priorities, um, or sort of a prioritization of funding, if you were in a position where we're able to sort of be at the table to be looking at that, like as Matt said, like the bulk of our funding does come in, but some of that is specifically allocated for certain programs. So there's money that's specifically come in just for housing, or for the child care agreement, or specifically for the Health Transfer Act. And some of those pieces are long-term contracts. So like the housing funding right now, for example, is on a 5-year contract. The childcare agreement is a multi-year. And so sometimes those negotiations are over years. The opportunity comes in being able to sort of start those negotiations, understanding the long-term potential impacts. So if we want to look at basic income guarantee, which I think Barbara's just put in the comment, you're right, Barbara, it's probably my top priority. Then you would start with investing in social income programs to do a short-term level up with the discretionary funding that you have available, and at the same time negotiate for that larger federal investment to support the investment that's required to do a basic income guarantee for islanders, which we know is the better solution long term, rather than
Thank you so much.
bootstrapping social programs. Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, folks. And if if you are wanting to hear more, again, please reach out to the candidates. Matt and Hannah, you folks are doing a great job of condensing pretty complicated and hefty ideas into these short time frames. So thank you so much. Also, folks, I did want to let you know I'm going to lower my hand because you're listening to me anyway, that we will be having two other official events in this leadership contest. We are going to be having some official debates. So where tonight was for us to be able to hear from Matt and Hannah, for them to answer these questions pretty quickly and abruptly, we are going to be having some in-person events for us to have more conversations around these, where there'll be a lot more back and forth with candidates. And so please stay tuned for that. We'll be sharing more details about those at the end of this event. With that, I'm going to move into our next question. And this is going to be another 1 minute question,
Hmm.
Hannah, that we're going to start with you.
Yep.
And this one has to do with the Green Party, and how you would operate within our principles. So the Green Party allows individual autonomy, which is not something that's common for other political parties. We hear a lot about federal parties with the whipping of votes and things like that.
Mhm.
But that's not something that we have typically done, um, which is, sorry, which is the established principle of cabinet solidarity, um, could be in conflict with an individual caucus member's personal views or those of the constituents that they represent. So, how would you, as leader of caucus or cabinet, navigate these seemingly incompatible principles?
There are a couple of different pieces in there. So So the difference when you're elected versus in the party. So in the elected role, if we were elected as government and in cabinet, then there is a requirement for not only cabinet confidence, which means that any discussions that happen in the cabinet space are restricted within that cabinet space, so they're not public. But the other one is that you have to have cabinet agreement. If somebody in cabinet doesn't support a decision that's coming from the executive council at that point, they're usually asked to leave cabinet. So there are some challenges there with that. So a lot of the decisions and the discussions that would happen behind the scenes are probably going to look pretty different. With a Green Caucus, the outcome may still look the same, but what happens behind the scenes would be different. I honestly, I'm not sure from a legislative perspective what that would look like, other than that the priority is that we remain green politicians, whatever space we're in, and conduct ourselves accordingly.
Thank you so much. Matt, same question to you.
Thanks, Tate. I think the number one reason why I switched from a previous political party. There's many, but one of the main ones was the fact that the Green Party doesn't whip votes. And I can vote my conscience, and I've already had and my constituents. I can vote my conscience, I can vote my constituents. And I've already had that tested once in my time as an MLA. And Peter and Carla were very supportive, telling me I vote however I feel I should vote on this issue based on the importance of my district. And it was a wonderful, enjoyable experience because I felt completely at liberty to do that. I think the key word here is to ensure consensus is achieved, work towards consensus, whether we're talking around the council table, which was a value I took to my time as presidency, as president of the party, was to ensure we tried and achieve a consensus, because at the end of the day, we all evolve around the green core values. So it's much easier to achieve alignment and consensus with that foundation.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So this next question is also a 1 minute question. Matt, it'll be coming to you first. Surprise to no one, we have a lot of questions that came in around proportional representation. This has long been a bedrock of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island and Green parties everywhere. If our party were to form government in the next election, will you, as leader, commit that the upcoming election will be the last one on PEI held under the first past the post electoral system? And if yes, what processes could you use to implement that change?
Yeah, I'm reminded of a previous politician who said that there would be no more elections under first past the post, and we all know how that ended up. Seems to me there were a number of elections after that of first past the post. So the short answer to the question is yes. I think proportional representation is fundamental to the direction our province needs to go in. How we get there, I would like to see a greater reliance and use of citizens' assemblies to make sure that when we're talking about fundamental change like this, that we have buy-in from islanders across the island and have a chance to have input into what that looks like. And that was part of our 2023 election platform as well, was to move in the direction of proportional representation and to get there through the use of citizens' assemblies, which I think is as close to grassroots democracy as we're going to get. And I would like to explore them.
Thank you so much. Hannah, over to you.
Short answer is yes. I'd also point out that Citizens Assembly is actually a adopted policy of the Green Party of PEI. It's in the policy handbook, so it's absolutely a piece that we have committed to our party membership as a tool that we would use to initiate that process. But there is absolutely enough time to be able to sort of work through that to the point where the election following would be one that is done proportionally. And I think, we can add to that and think about, we also need to look at how parties are financially supported. There is a example, particularly with proportional representation, that parties are more likely to be able to be successful if they can have sort of funds that are associated with the votes that they receive. So there's some other really interesting things we could explore in addition to the clear commitment that we have for the end of first past the post.
Thank you so much. Look at you folks. covering that in a minute each. Well done. And I didn't even have to cut you off. I'm so proud.
No.
So we
We'll
are.
have it sorted by the time we get to the end of this. We'll be
There
like,
you go. Yeah, we'll be all set. We'll be ready to go for a whole other hour.
no.
So, folks, we are coming close to the end of our time together. I am going to have time for two last questions here. Again, if your question hasn't been asked or the verbiage that you thought was really important that got to the heart of what you were asking for wasn't used here, first off, apologies from me. Some of these I've been kind of wordsmithing as we go to try and collect as many ideas as possible. But also, again, I want to reiterate, please reach out to your candidates, ask them these questions, get the answers that you need. And please tune in for our next events as well. If you want to share this later on, this is on our Facebook page as well. So please feel free to pass this along to anyone else who you think might be interested in what our candidates had to say tonight. So you're going to have two questions left, folks. And we are going to start off with Hannah. This
Mhm,
one is going to be a 2-minute answer
mhm.
and is also kind of situated in the reality of where we are right now. We got a lot of questions about the size and effectiveness of government, how that relates to cabinet, to the number of departments, to crown
Mm.
corporations, to how boards function, all of those pieces that fall under government oversight. How do you define effective government? Or sorry, how do you define effective governance, and how would you balance the interest of diverse groups across PEI?
Oh, what a great question. Um, I mean, PEI is really interesting for this because the limitations of size and jurisdiction make it more difficult to have that some flexibility. I mean, we've looked before at sort of an effective cabinet. There are a certain number of portfolios that really need a lot of work and a lot of attention, and so can't be kind of co-managed or co-split. But at the same time, people often see cabinets as being like a plum post that is used to reward or to recognize, and it's those kind of norms of provincial politics that are challenging to break out of. Like, kind of, this is how we do it, and this is how we've always done it. Um, there are also legislative requirements or legal requirements as to how government functions at the executive branch, which some of which set limitations. Saying all that, there are key portfolios that would need that, like the kind of more formal approach, but there's also much more creative ways, like co-cabinet ministers, co-ministers, which we actually did in a youth parliament, and is incredibly effective because it's a way, for instance, to have a rural and an urban representative. So, for instance, with healthcare, having cabinet spaces on that and having that representation that looks at different jurisdictions and different representation allows you to bring diversity of voice into a space to ensure that you don't get that tunnel vision that can happen with only one key person at the helm. The other piece around it is that thing that happens behind the scenes with cabinet, which is about we talked about that consensus decision making. Cabinet should be making decisions not in isolation, but in that kind of connected and interconnected way, which is again one of our core principles for the party, but reflected in a governance style can make for some really effective problem solving because we're looking at nothing exists in a silo. And we know,
Thank
heaven
you so
knows, we know
much.
silos are the enemy. So
That's
thank you.
thank you. No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Matt, I will hand it over to you. 2 minutes.
Right. Yeah, it's a topical question, and in fact, just today I exchanged an email with someone on the very issue of our public service. Is it too big? Are we getting bang for the buck? How come we have a bigger public service, but we're getting less public service in exchange? So it's almost become an industry of itself after farming, fishing, and tourism. Is that government seems to rely on the job creation from the public service, which is great. It's wonderful jobs, but is it delivering on what islanders need? The challenge is, we might be Canada's smallest province, but we still have all the same issues that need to be addressed, and we need the various portfolios to address them. But are we delivering them in the most effective, cost-efficient manner? And I don't really think we are. I use the example of health PEI. We see so much bloat with health PEI on the administrative side, but we see a lack of attention to the frontline workers. But we see expanded executive leadership teams. We see consultants being hired for dollars that could go to frontline healthcare workers. We see IRAC's role expanded from, across the board, from land to utilities to rental office to maritime, electric, petroleum, setting gas prices. Do we need all of these various agencies to deliver on what we as Canada's smallest province needs to deliver? There's NGOs out there, there's community groups that are playing fundamental roles as well in delivering the services that islanders need. So it's something that needs to be looked at. Whether things can be pared down, we have to deliver the services islanders need, but I think we need to look at it harshly as to whether it can be done more efficiently.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right, folks. Like I said, we're going to ask our last submitted question, and then I will have a few others that we're going to ask our candidates as well. Thank you again for joining us tonight, and Matt and Hannah, thank you so much for your time committed to this. I also just want to make a note for folks who might not watch a lot of other political stuff. I so admire about these two individuals that as we are asking these questions, they are writing down notes frantically. Like the level of thought that they are putting into their answers here is not something that we see from a lot of politicians. And so I'm so grateful for that. And it's one of the things that drew me to the Green Party, how much we really pay attention to those details. So thank you for taking the time yet to do that. Yours is full. My blank page is actually right in front of me because I'm just reading other people's work tonight. So thank you so much, folks. Hannah and Matt, thank you for doing this with us tonight. This last question here, again, you're going to have 2 minutes for. And Matt, we will start with you because you went last the last time. So this question is, how would you measure success from your time in office and assumedly time as premier, and what legacy would you want to leave behind?
Hmm. How to measure success? Well, we have to strive for success, and we have to strive for positive change and to achieve effective accomplishments that are going to benefit islanders across the island. But we have to do that while remaining true to our core values. We have to maintain our integrity throughout all of what we do. Hard work will lead to good results, but I would never be someone who would focus on achievement or accomplishment or positive gain at the risk of compromising any aspect of what I value, my ideology or my integrity. Looking back as to how to measure success, we have to move the needle forward on so many issues that islanders are facing now, and that's what's propelled me to put my name forward for leadership over the past year in this job, seeing the day-to-day struggle of islanders. If there's any party that's going to address the needs of islanders at the level that needs to be addressed, it's going to be the Green Party of Prince Edward Island. The legacy parties have shown for 150 years that their only real interest is re-elected at whatever cost. And it's not working. We've seen the outcome of that approach in the United States, and it's led to a very scary situation. Unless we start speaking to islanders and their needs immediately, to lift all boats, to improve the lives, to make the cost of living within reach for people. We're and the Green Party is the only party that's going to be able to do that at this point, that listens and it's going to make the changes necessary.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, Matt. Hannah, over to you.
Thanks, and thank you. I appreciate the thoughtful questions throughout this whole event. I mean, success initially is the first green government in North America that brings in and is elected on strong, clear policies of fundamental change to what is the norm. We want to move the needle on what normal looks like, and what normal looks like, and what the new normal should look like for PEI is that everybody is able to live in security and dignity, that we have appropriate housing, that our healthcare system can support the population that we have and the needs of the population, and that we have a basic income guarantee that provides a social safety net, not just for those who are not able to enter the workforce, but for those who have different life paths. We have the way that we can support a more creative, happier, and healthier population is by providing people with opportunities to live a life well lived. And so a legacy of a green government in PEI would be that we create a space that is the envy of the rest of the world. Like I said, a beacon of hope that change, positive change can actually change the way that we live our lives and what quality of life looks like. And we absolutely have that opportunity here. And those through tangible investments in clearly stated, bold policies that are not afraid to step up and say, these big, wicked problems need crazy, creative, amazing solutions, and we're the ones that are able to do it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. I don't know about everyone else on this call or who's watching this after, but like I said, I'm so impressed with these candidates, and I am inspired by what PEI will look like under their leadership. I should stop a timer. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for those answers. And I want to encourage folks who are joining this or who have had this video shared with them, please remember that if you would like to vote for one of these two candidates, you do need to be a member of the Green Party of Prince Edward Island, and you need to be a member before May 8th. This is a very important deadline for you to remember. Before May 8th, you need to have your membership in. So if you are not a member yet, please go to peigreens.ca and you can join us. You'll find all the information there. If you are not certain if you are a member, if you think, hey, maybe one time I was, but I don't know if I still am, please send an email. Our moderators are going to post that email into the chat so that you can reach out and find out your exact status, because you want to make sure if you are going to vote that you are an active member before May 8th. With that, I'm going to hand it over to our candidates for this last question. You're only going to have a minute to answer this last question. And this one is going to go to Hannah first. So this last one is, what makes you the best leader for the Green Party of Prince Edward Island at this particular moment in time?
I'm the parent to a teenager and the caregiver and reluctant caregiver, I think, for both of us to an aging parent. Um, I'm a Islander by choice who has invested my adult life here um, to make a difference in the community that I love, that loves me back. I feel that we need a leader who has that on the ground experience, not just of the environmental issues that drive so many of us to the party, but also of those issues of social justice, and advocacy and action that come from community-based initiatives, who understands that grassroots movements happen when you listen to the people in the community and take action on the things that matter to them. I am that person. I've been that person my whole life, and I want to keep doing it, but do it for the whole province.
Thank you so much. Matt, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Tate. I'm a lifelong resident of Prince Edward Island. I've been involved in politics almost my entire life at one level or another. I'm completely inclusive of everybody who has an interest in the party and who shares any interest in politics. There's room for everybody in the Green Party of Prince Edward Island, and we need to make room for everybody in the Green Party of Prince Edward Island if we want to form government, because that's the goal of the party. That's the goal that I have as leader. And there are people who are looking for an option right now. And under my leadership, I believe I can bring Islanders from tip to tip into the Green Party, because we are in a great position right now under the right leadership to get candidates elected across the island and to form the next government of Prince Edward Island. And I will give my word and my undertaking to do the work necessary to get this party into that position.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you, Matt and Hannah, for joining us. And thank you, everyone who joined us here tonight. I hope you've had a great time. Please follow us on Facebook to stay up to date with everything that's going to be happening in this leadership contest. We're really excited about what's happening and what's coming down the pipe. Our vote will be taking place in June. But again, if you want to vote, you need to be a member by May 8th. So please make sure that you check that out. You can also join us in person for our next event. It is going to be a debate on April 12th at 2 p.m. at the Loyalist Inn in Summerside. Candidates, I will be sending you that information, I promise. And there will also be an event, and all that folks stuff will be posted on Facebook. So please make sure that you join us in person. Again, that's April 12th at 2 p.m. for our first debate. There will be another one in Charlottetown after that as well. I also want to encourage you that if you've been inspired by one of our candidates today, you can also support them in reaching their $10,000 fundraising requirement. So they are required to have their name on this ballot. There is an amount of money that they do need to raise before that time. And so please feel free to go to our website, and you can donate to their campaigns specifically and help them to reach that $10,000 fundraising goal. Like I said, we're so glad that you joined us tonight. Thank you so much to our candidates for sharing with us. I hope that you get to go put your feet up and watch like reruns of Brooklyn Nine-Nine or something so that you can unwind, and maybe just like, I don't know, sit and talk to your pets about like easy questions about how they feel about the Seinfeld finale or something. But I'm so grateful for the thoughts that you added, and to everyone who joined us today, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be in touch soon.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
Okay.
everybody. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tate.
Thanks, folks.
Great job, Tate.
Thanks.
Yeah.